Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This is part two of the show being recorded for Sunday, March 17, 2024. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes directly real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. For those of you to reach me, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Look for the Book a Session tab. Very straightforward from there. And if you get a chance, just remember to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. All those things really help the channel. So with no further ado, let's get going on the part two of the show for today. We're starting off with question now 37. Through the years, approximately only 20 people have made it to the deepest part of the oceans and submarines. James Cameron is one of those people. Have any of those people or these people seen extraterrestrial activity but won't go public with their sightings, just keeping it to themselves? Yes, many have witnessed extraterrestrial ET activity, but because of fear of kind of being seen as crazy in public or kind of putting their careers in jeopardy, they haven't talked about it. So I validate this is all true. 36. Do the members of a unique soul family all belong to the same level in the other dimensions? Is your biological family always members of your soul family? I think we touched on this a little bit in part one, but yes, well, all members of your unique soul family are not at the same level in heaven. If you're much higher level in heaven, you can come down levels to meet with other soul family members. If you're at lower levels, you can't always go up. And yes, when you come down to earth, in almost all cases, the individuals you're interacting with are part of your unique soul family. You've all come down to kind of create that one unified agreement or blueprint for the life lessons you're learning. 35. Hello, Sterling and team. My question is, my beloved dog of 14 years passed away this week. On the morning before she passed, I think I heard a message from Spirit saying, "Don't worry, we'll throw her a big welcoming party." Was this true or was it my imagination? And also, did she get to the other side safely and is she with family? No, it's not your imagination. She absolutely did get to the other side extremely safe. In almost all cases, our loved ones and your dog, did you say a name here? No, I just said your beloved dog, actually was greeted by not only family members, but other family members for her. So these are animal family members. Yeah, really it's a wonderful welcoming party. And those were your guides and angels trying to give you some comfort in the midst of kind of a very, traumatic event. And it's very common. We have to listen, right? Because our guides and angels will always try to communicate with us, always try to help us through difficult times. But that's exactly what happened here. 34. A few years ago, I heard someone call my name loudly, and it felt like it was in my head. I have never heard anything like that since. If someone wanted to give me a message, why did they only say my name and not the message? So these are the beginning stages of what's called a clairaudient gift. Now, in many cases, as you're starting to develop the ability, it might start off as rushes of thought and then move into kind of what's called like a clear language or a clear delineated voice. But what's interesting is that it's the beginning stages of clairaudience. So if you had developed the gift, and there are ways to develop the gift, then you would have also had a dialogue, an ongoing dialogue. So you weren't at the level of skill to have an ongoing dialogue with your team, but you're the very beginning stages where you heard your name being called. They're trying to get your attention. 33. 45 told the Australian billionaire about US and Russian nuclear submarines. Did Putin know 45 was going to sell Russian secrets? What does Putin think about that? Is he upset or was it planned? I see that 45 allowed critical secrets to get out into the world through like top secret binder, but I'm not getting from my team that 45 directly sold Russian secrets. So a little bit of a misnomer there, maybe in the question, the way the question's phrased. I don't see 45 went out and in any way deliberately sold Russian secrets, but there's like a top secret binder and copies that were released that put other world nations in jeopardy. 32. Hello, Sterling and team. Were the hominids seated on Earth, or did they evolve on Earth like Darwin claims? Dolores Cannon and others state that the Homo sapiens sapiens were made by altering the DNA of Neanderthals, which were present on Earth. Um, I think all species now are referred to as hominins, not hominids, right? My team saying. But there was a bit of these were being seeded, right? Everything was actually seeded by extraterrestrials. It wasn't the evolution that Darwin claimed. We're talking about Darwin here. So my team has always said that this has to do with kind of a sequential seeding process by many extraterrestrial groups. And so now, like all hominids are now, everything's referred to as hominins. I think it is. Okay. Yeah, that's what they're telling me to tell you. 31. Hi, Sterling. Looks like 45 has defamed E. Jean Carroll again. What effect will the threat of her actually filing, I'm sorry, what effect will the threat of her actually filing another lawsuit have on potential donors? Will they see this as a useless waste of money and stop donating to him and the RNC? I don't see this affecting MAGA groups at all. So I still see a lot of donations coming in to the RNC. But I do see another successful third round litigation for E. Jean Carroll. So there's more coming up here. That litigation is going to go through, my team's telling me. 30. Hi, Sterling and team. I believe Fani Willis' court hearing was salacious, unfair, and a vicious attack by prosecutors that were allowed to ask completely inappropriate questions. Judge Scott McAfee, who preside over the hearings and will also preside over the Georgia RICO case, is a part of the Federalist Society. Should we be concerned that he will be just like Judge Aileen Cannon? I don't see Scott McAfee ruling in the same way that Aileen Cannon is in that documents case. I do see him having kind of a fair and balanced approach to the trials, what my team's telling me. I believe he was a member of the Federalist Society, is going through law school or maybe early stages of his career. Don't know, I can't speak to his persuasions in that area, but it looks to me like, yeah, there's some connection with the Federalist Society, but my team's saying that he'll actually approach us in a very fair and balanced way and won't rule like Judge Eileen Cannon has been, which has been a little reckless. 29. Hello, Sterling. Thank you for your diligence in bringing knowledge and understanding to humankind. Concerning the extraterrestrial species that visit Earth, what is the largest population of ETs that live on any other home worlds? Is Earth exceptional to have over 8 billion inhabitants? There's more than something like 1,000 quadrillion extraterrestrials out there in the universe, which is something like a 1 with 18 zeros. Uh, I know there's 8 billion inhabitants here, let's say on Earth. But if you look at the other star systems like Alpha Centauri and Palladian, Arcturus, it's hard to speak to exactly in these star systems, across all these star systems, there's something like 1,000 quadrillion extraterrestrials. But in terms of how they lay out in all of the individual planets on the star systems, it's difficult to say. But the fact that we have, 8 billion, we're talking about 8 billion inhabitants here on Earth. Yeah, that's a small microcosm compared to the extraterrestrial population. Okay, 28 in the countdown. My daughter lives in an apartment built in the 1940s. She has seen shapes of people in her hallway at night, and sometimes when she is sleeping, she visually sees another apartment within her apartment. I just visited her last weekend. We spent the day out, and when we returned to the apartment, she noticed in her hallway one of the built-in cabinet drawers was open and paper hanging, and the bottom cabinet open, like someone had gone through them. We thought at first someone had gotten into the apartment. She now sleeps with the bedroom door closed because she doesn't want to see anything in the hallway during the night. What is going on in her apartment? Is she safe? She is safe. These are spiritual entities that lived in that apartment, that location at one time. I think he said this was built in the 1940s, because it looks like whoever was living there was there almost 100 years ago, something on nature, 80 to 100 years ago. So these are not harmful spiritual entities, but they are there. They like that location. Now you can respectfully ask them to leave. Burn a little sage. Sage is like, aromatherapy on steroids, I always refer to. But that kind of cleanses the environment. It lightens the load. And your daughter could just ask them to respectfully leave because they're scaring her. So yeah, those are spiritual entities. I don't see anybody that broke into the apartment. 27, things are not good in Cuba. Wheat stores are reported to be depleted in the next month. People are starving now. Please advise on Cuba and the unrest in the country. Will there be another revolution? Unfortunately, I do see another revolution coming for Cuba. So I think everybody's got to start to do whatever they can to be safe and uh, try to do what they can to kind of pilot through it. I think we're coming up on like the 65th anniversary of that last Cuban revolution. There was another revolution coming here due to all the unrest and the instability and the fact that that last revolution didn't create the kind of economic stability and the life that everybody was looking for. So, yeah, unfortunately, please be safe. It looks like there's another revolution coming for Cuba. But the next one looks like it'll somehow put Cuba on the right path. So be safe. 26, as a sixth generation family rancher, I'm concerned about the future of cattle, not from a business standpoint, but an existence view. Our cows are gentle and have 10 acres per cow to roam. Some even like head scratches, but they are expensive to raise. If there's no market for beef, what will happen to cattle herds in the future? Will they only survive in zoo-like atmospheres? And what about the horses raised to work on ranches? Will the population dwindle? Well, we're going to see a big shift in the way that cattle and horses and whatnot are used in society over the next 3 decades. It's true. Now, they won't go out of existence, but there's going to be a big difference in the way they're raised and kept safe. Yeah, I mean, all these industries are going to shift due to the fact that we'll see a lot of lab grown foods and products and meats and be moving away from real animal and even dairy products. So it's going to shift, but there's a 3 decade shift here happening. So I think fortunately, individuals, groups, families will have somewhat of a way to kind of navigate through this for the change. 25. Hello, Sterling. I'm writing this from the Netherlands. I have a question about the wave of far right politics upcoming in Europe. Could a far right European Union really happen? In light of today's state of the world, this has got me really worried. Yes, well, unfortunately, it looks like European Union will take a turn to the far right for a number of years. So maybe this ends up going a decade or something and then settling down. Just like a lot of parts of the world are going very far right, very much more radical. I do see the European Union going through a bit of a difficult time period here over years, become much more far right. So knowing that, there are ways sometimes people can then rise up and take action in their local communities or their local government to try to bring it all back into a sense of normality. But I do see far right European Union happening. 24, Sterling, what is really going on with Princess Kate? The wire services took down her picture with the kids saying it was altered, and she came forward and said she edited the picture. Is she really all right? I've read on this before. She has a very serious illness, and I'm highly concerned about her health. Very serious illness. Now, I don't want to go into a lot of detail here out of respect for the family, but that is what's causing a lot of this difficulty there. And I read this even months ago when this first started to happen. But she's dealing with a very serious illness. I wish her all the best. I send a lot of love and light to her family and the royal family. But that's what's going on. 23, hi Sterling and team. When a woman has a miscarriage, is it because a soul changed its mind coming into the world? No, not really. It's actually a life path lesson for both that soul and the mother's family and doctors, everybody around it. So all of our life paths are interconnected, even those for a soul that's coming down that's part of a miscarriage. So interestingly enough, even the life path blueprint of a soul that's coming down to experience a miscarriage is part of a life path lesson. But that's the lessons then that expand out to that family, the mother. Everything's all interconnected. So it's not simply that a soul decided to not come down. Usually not the case. It really doesn't happen that way. It's actually part of their unique soul, life path, and journey. 22, hello, Sterling and team. I am an introvert and private person with a small family and group of friends. When I die, I do not wish to have a funeral. I plan on being cremated and allow my children to choose where to scatter my ashes. Is there any reason to think that not having a funeral has any impact on my spirit in the afterlife? The life choice you make here has no bearing on the afterlife in that concern. So whether you're buried, cremated, ashes spread at sea, has no bearing on the afterlife. Those are all actually life lessons that you leave behind for those still on earth. Now, it's interesting that, it's almost analogous to like driving a car. So let's say your soul, you're the soul, you're driving the car. Your car is your body. When you get outside the car, that's kind of analogous to moving to heaven. It doesn't matter whether the car is crushed or burns or what happens. That car is distinctly different from you, your soul, who you are. So as you move into the heaven realm, it makes no difference whatsoever as to what happens then with your earthly remains or your car, so to speak. So whatever happens here on earth is still has to do with lessons that other people are learning down here. 21. Hello, Sterling. I've been reading that doctors are able to cure cataracts in dogs using drops. Will this be available to humans? Is a non-surgical cure for cataracts on the near horizon? Yes, I get the same drug that's being used to help animals or dogs will eventually make its way into humans. Yes. And it looks like my team's saying that whatever drug's being used, whatever this is, that's having good success in dogs will actually help humans eventually here too. Looks like some trials are going to start in this area. 20. Hi, Sterling. My question is, you have already told us that extraterrestrials are here and even working within our government. Charles Hall wrote a book about his experience as an Air Force weather observer assigned alone to a restricted site in Nevada, where he was exposed to an ET group he called the Tall Whites. These ETs were granted access to a military base nearby, and Charles seemed to be the token human for those ETs to become familiar with using telepathic communications. Charles describes all of this in his book, originally published as fiction, and later claimed his experiences were real. He calls his book Millennial Hospitality. Was his experience real? Yes, 100%. I get the experiences relayed in this book were 100% real. And the interactions he had were not only with all different versions of tall whites, so men, women, children, scientists. Looks like he had a very diverse interaction with many, many tall whites. My team saying all absolutely true. And they like the book. 19, hello, Sterling. How will the solar eclipse on April 8th affect us and the planet? Well, it's all the usual effects. So it's a drop in temperature. It's going to, significant darkness. Nocturnal animals will change their habits a little bit because of the drop in sunlight. But nothing dramatic is going on with the earth or with people. So it's a lot of what I call the normal scientific effects on earth that come with an eclipse. But no significant earthly effects. 18. What is causing white rubbery clots found on what is estimated to be 20% of autopsies? These are COVID effects after having COVID. So this is how, because different type variants of COVID have moved through the body, creating clotting mechanisms. But my team is saying it's all directly related to after effects of COVID in these people. 17, hello, Sterling. I noticed on the news Russians are now taking over areas of Africa, and in addition, China is getting more involved. Are we being distracted with Europe and the Middle East? And is there some big event or plan that we're missing in our blind spot? I see that Russia, China, they're looking at ways to try to uh, take military action against some areas like Taiwan, and even looking at some areas of NATO, which is obviously not in their best interest, because NATO would be a very significant challenge for like China and Russia. But I don't see us significantly taking our eyes off of other areas of the world. Looks like a lot of the world's governments are focused on many different areas. Certainly, there's a resource constraint, whether you have a lot of resources in one area of the world, hard to move them to others of the world. But I even see resources being moved around the world to kind of counteract where other threats might take place, like Taiwan, like other parts around NATO nations. So don't see a big blind spot here, but I do see a lot of the world governments preparing and the world's militaries making sure that they have a lot of their bases covered, so to speak. Seven, I'm sorry, 16 we're on now. Hello, Sterling. How will young people between 18 to 24 vote in November elections? Unfortunately, I don't see a lot of active voting in this age group. However, with a subtext here, I see a lot of women in across all age groups coming out and being very active in voting to secure reproductive rights. So don't see a lot of aggressive voting in that age group, but the subset of girls, women, let's say in that subgroup, I do see coming out to aggressively vote. So a little bit of a mixed bag there in that age group. But just also to reemphasize, I do see a very significant population of women across all age groups significantly voting in this next election cycle to protect reproductive rights, as we all should. 15. Hello, Sterling and team. Will America ever look like a futuristic Star Wars movie where we get flying cars and high-speed trains? Yes, within 3 decades, commercial space travel will be very, very common. Flying cars will be very common over the next number of years. So this evolution of technology is coming. My team has talked about this quite a bit. Flying cars, it looks like even Tesla may have a flying car within a few years here, be deployed, and then a lot of commercial space travel. So they're asking, will America ever look like a future Star Wars movie? Yeah, it will. A lot of inner space travel vehicles moving around, and yeah, it will. It will start to look like what we see in Star Wars and Star Trek. 14. Hello, Sterling. I once lived in a house that seemed to be haunted. I hired a psychic to come clear the house. He told me that there was a spirit highway of sorts and spirits travel on. And there was one that was going right through my house. That is a spiritual highway. In addition, he said the spirits there were treating my house as a sort of bed and breakfast or inn. The activity seemed to go away somewhat after he cleared the house, never completely. And although I moved and the house was sold, I still wonder about that highway. Is it something that really exists? No, a little bit of a misnomer there, not a spiritual highway. There are a lot of spiritual entities that like that house, like that area, wherever you were at here. When you talk about a spiritual highway, that really denotes a portal. And there are many large portals on the planet. Well, one of the largest ones is in Skinwalker Ranch in northern Utah. It goes hundreds of feet into the sky. But in your particular case, not a spiritual highway, just a lot of spirits that lived in that area, that frequent that area. So not a highway or a bed and breakfast, but just coming around because they like that environment. Looks like they also like your energy too. 13. Oppenheimer got me thinking. Okay, the movie Oppenheimer. Currently, the messages from extraterrestrials curtail the use of nuclear weapons. Why do they allow any at all, like in 1945? Strategically, at that time, it averted a greater world war and death and destruction. Are there circumstances in the future where their use would be the best alternative? Yes, I mean, well, it is true, first off, that extraterrestrials allow or have allowed the use of nuclear weapons to try to allow humanity to move through certain lessons. I do not see any significant use of nuclear weapons coming up in the future. So that ship has already sailed, so to speak, that humanity's kind of learned that lesson, what that's all about. And now the future intent and intention among many extraterrestrial groups is to stop all complete usage of nuclear weapons and, as a subset, ensuring that nuclear power facilities are kept safe. So I don't see any additional uses of nuclear weapons at all. And notwithstanding the fact that extraterrestrials are not going to allow it anyway, it looks like going forward here. 12. Hi, Sterling and team. I would love to know if Taylor Swift will endorse the Biden-Harris ticket. If so, will it make a substantial difference? Thank you. Yes, I see this year. I've read on this in the past. I do see Taylor coming out along with her family and endorsing the Biden-Harris ticket, believe it or not. So it looks like Taylor will take a lead in that area, even sway some a number of individuals around her, let's put it that way, to support the Biden-Harris ticket. I do see that happening. And what was the other question here? Yeah, it will make a substantial difference. It absolutely will. It's already starting. 11. Hi, Sterling. I've had long COVID for almost 2 years now. I am reading now that the brain scans of long COVID are similar to stroke patients. The symptoms are terrible. Do you see a cure for long COVID sufferers? Yes, well, I'm not a doctor, but the long haul effects of COVID have a lot to do with blood clotting and stroke-like effects. And you have seen individuals that have strokes after having COVID. The good news is that there's a lot of new technology that's CRISPR related right now that's being looked at on how to reverse the effects of COVID or long haul COVID. There's actually doctors now that are specializing in long haul COVID. So I would encourage anybody out there, again, not a doctor, but seek out some of the new specialists, the doctors that are working on long haul COVID interactions and the symptoms and how to correct them, how to manage them, and how to mitigate them. But yeah, there's actually new CRISPR technology coming up that's going to help here very shortly. 10. Hello, Sterling. Why do extraterrestrials abduct people to study them, especially since they have been around longer than we have? What is it that they are studying since we have been around for hundreds of thousands, since we have been around for hundreds of thousands of years? Well, they've had a very significant role in developing Homo sapiens sapiens. They're doing a lot of biological harvesting. They're helping to develop humanity. They develop hybrids. So that's all part of, the study. You consider Earth is not only a big school, but it's also a big laboratory for a lot of extraterrestrial groups. So that's the way the universe has been laid out. But that's why there's so much interest among a lot of extraterrestrial groups, even though they've been around for millions of years. Why they spend a lot of time here on Earth. Okay, 9 the countdown. Hello, Sterling and wonderful team. I am a true believer there is life after life, and your angels and guides are proving that with each message they send you. My question is, what is the true meaning behind a person's birthmark? Are they a sign that we bring with us as we travel from a past life? In about 1/3 of all cases, birthmarks are some sort of a tie-in to a prior life that you decided to bring down with you in order to kind of remember some sort of a life experience. It's true. And in fact, there's actually proof of this. A lot of people doing past life regression, and many times they can track some sort of a past life and then let's say a death experience around a wound, for example, that shows up as a birthmark. I find it's not the majority, but some around 1/3. My angelic team has always told me about 1/3 of people. There is some correlation. The other 2/3 of people, it's just something cosmetically you came down with for whatever the reason. But about 1/3, it does track to, let's say, a fatal wound from a prior life, which is kind of interesting. 8. Hello, Sterling. Here's a horse question. Is there a collective horse consciousness where all horses have access to all their collective knowledge? And can they help humans be more connected to the Earth's wisdom? Well, not in the sense that's unique to horses. So all animals being from the angelic realm, not angels, but they exist in the angelic realm before they come down. They have a high level of consciousness and connectedness, all animals, not just horses. Horses are unique in that they do help a lot of individuals, like dogs do, get through things like PTSD, that kind of thing. So there's a collective consciousness where horses do try to help collectively when they're in groups. But all animals are uniquely and very strongly connected with the other side, the one source, the one force. So I guess I would say that, yes, it's true for horses, but not unique to horses. It actually goes across many, many animal species. Even giraffes. My team just reminded me. That's interesting. 7. Hi, Sterling. Will the Supreme Court try to interfere with 2024 election results for 45? I don't see any new Supreme Court interactions regarding the election in 2024. Looks like a lot of that water will be under the bridge. Now, it doesn't mean there are not going to be a lot of fights going on regarding 2024 election results, but it looks like a number of cases that have been reviewed, it's going to be like water under the bridge to be able to reference prior cases, the rulings on prior cases. 6, hello, Sterling. Do we get to see all of our pets when we leave this earth, regardless of when our pets passed away? Absolutely, 100%. They're there to greet you. 5, dear Sterling and team, what's the future of television like? Will eventually be obsolete? Well, television will change drastically the way we consume it and the way it's developed. So you'll be able to utilize very small devices. They may, in fact, start out looking like buttons on your coat or name tags, but they'll be able to laser project images out into 3D space. You'll be able to see holographic 3D images of whatever content you're viewing. You'll also be able to utilize artificial intelligence technology to create any unique program you want. So if you want to watch a program regarding horses in some mountain range that are interacting with Indian tribes, you'll be able to create that movie instantaneously and then watch it. So yes, the way we consume television, entertainment content will change drastically. Instantaneous development of content, movies to our liking, the way we create them, and then the way they're displayed 3D holographically will be quite different. Okay, 4 in the countdown. Hi, Sterling and team. Will Ivanka Trump run for president in 2028 like the Simpsons episode predicted? Will she win if she does? No, I don't see any members of the 45 family running successfully for office in 2028. Does not look like that's going to come to pass. Not only will they not run successfully, obviously they won't win. So I don't see that coming to pass, my team's saying. 3, hi Sterling. A couple of days ago, I was woken up in the middle of the night and I saw 2 entities that looked like trolls from the Disney movie, only not colorful and not happy. One even stuck its tongue out at me. I told my wife and mother the next day and was ridiculed immensely. Could you tell me whether what I saw was real and what were they and why did they wake me up? I get this was actually, they weren't real. This is a complete lucid dream. And, in a lucid dream, you're actually in a dream state, but realizing you're dreaming. So my team saying it was more of a lucid dream. It wasn't real, although it felt real. So I understand that. And then number 2 and number 1, I always take notes in advance before we start these shows, so I'll share those with you. So number 2 in the countdown, do you see anything coming up this week? More setbacks in timings for 45's trials. Now they're still going to go on, but some setbacks here. And none of charges won't be dismissed, but looks like a little bit of setback in the timing, some more setbacks. New funding coming in for 45 relative to the new appeals. So there's new offshore funding coming in that's going to help with his appeals process. New medications coming in for pets to treat certain forms of cancer. So it looks like this might be helpful to large breed dogs with bone cancer, whatnot. But they're showing me some new medication coming out to help fight cancer, certain forms of cancer in dogs. New UK discussion relative to Ukraine aid coming in. So it's like UK discussing and implementing more aid coming into Ukraine. New ceasefire progress in the Middle East. And it looks to me like we're going to get very close to that tipping point where we actually get to the ceasefire. My team's been talking about Qatar's interaction and exchanging money behind the scenes. But it looks like we're right on top of a ceasefire happening. And I also see here new Netanyahu discussions regarding creating a special election to remove him. Now, almost a year ago, individuals were asking whether Netanyahu would be removed. My team said no, probably be there for at least another year. Looks like we're coming up on that time frame, and it looks like a special election's coming up. Not going to tell you it's going to happen next week, but it looks like there's momentum regarding a special election to remove Netanyahu in Israel. And last but not least, number 1 in the countdown for today, March 17, 2024. Do you have anything your guides want to share? Know that your guides and angels are working diligently to help you behind the scenes in your everyday lives. Take the time to try and listen to what they're trying to show you and tell you. Many times the answers come through others you are talking with as your angels and guides influences all the message you receive around you. And on that note, that concludes part 2 of the show being recorded for Sunday, March 17, 2024. As always, if you need to reach me, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab. I think we have available dates now in July and August and September, of that nature, something like that. And those times are always shown in real time when you look at the booking calendar. Always, I'm going to send out goodwill to everyone and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care, and I'll see you again very soon.